Introduction and Segment 1 Script. Introduction. Close your eyes and let your mind drift back. Thousands of years to the grand yet ancient city of Pataliputra in Mauryan, India. The air is thick with the sounds of bustling crowds, merchants hawking their wares. The clamor of chariots moving through dusty streets. But the lives of those who endured hardship, the struggles of everyday people trying to make a life in a city teeming with both promise and suffering, and the faint hum of a world on the cusp of profound change. We'll start with a place at the bottom of society's hierarchy, a life filled with grime, effort, and invisibility. Life of street sweepers in the heart of Pataliputra. Yet, despite the glory of its empire, life here was not a dream for all. As you gather your broom, you feel the weight of the day ahead. In the grand scheme of the Mauryan Empire, you are a mere speck, one of many in the sprawling city. Yet, without people like you, the city would descend into chaos. Despite your important role, your life is one of hardship and obscurity, caught in a rigid caste system that keeps you bound to your station. The city, a melting pot of people, is a complex maze of narrow lanes and open marketplaces. In a world where social mobility is almost non-existent, your chances for a better life are slim. You may dream of Askapu, joining the army, becoming a merchant, or finding a way to move up, but the weight of your caste, of your social class, keeps you firmly in place. You sweep, you clean, you survive, and you move to the next day. It is alive with movement, yet there's little space for you or your fellow sweepers to maneuver. The rich merchants, soldiers, and nobility move quickly through the streets, avoiding the messes that lie beneath their feet. They rarely notice you, nor would they care to. Tonight, we'll explore what it was really like to live in ancient Indian, the grand palaces or royal courts. But these drains are rarely clean themselves. They overflow, and the waste runs freely, creating a permanent stench. Your hands are calloused from years of labor, and the smell is now something you've become accustomed to, even though it never truly leaves you. The streets are already bustling with the sounds of chattering vendors and the sight of merchants preparing their goods. But for you, a street sweeper, the day begins with a different rhythm. As you settle in, let go of the present moment and journey with me to an ancient world. Segment 1. Why it sucked to be a street sweeper in Pataliputra. Imagine yourself waking up at the crack of dawn in the city of Pataliputra, one of the most vibrant urban centers of ancient India. The air is thick with dust and the smells of unwashed bodies, animals, and refuse. Your job is to keep the streets clean, sweeping the detritus of human life into the open drains that line the streets. You live a life of invisibility, your work unnoticed, your status unrecognized, but still, you carry on. The work is exhausting and relentless. The hours long and your pay meager. Segment 2. The life and legacy of Emperor Ashoka. As you settle deeper into your thoughts, imagine yourself standing in the center of an empire at its peak. You are in the court of Emperor Ashoka, once known for his military might and vast conquests. Early in his reign, he was a conqueror, just like his ancestors. He fought battles, expanded his empire, and sought glory. But his most famous campaign, the Kalinga War, would change everything. But now, you feel the echoes of a transformation, a shift that is as monumental as the empire he once sought to expand. The cries of the fallen, the screams of mothers and children, the anguish of witnessing such a devastating loss weighed heavily on him. His efforts to build infrastructure, roads, hospitals, and wells helped improve the lives of the common people. His words, etched into stone, provide us with a glimpse of a ruler who sought not just to conquer lands, but to conquer his own inner turmoil. The legacy of Ashoka's rule, with its emphasis on peace, tolerance, and human well-being, would resonate through the centuries, shaping the culture of India for generations to come. However, despite his fame as a peaceful ruler, Ashoka's reign was not without challenges. His conversion to Buddhism and his abandonment of conquest angered some of his advisors and military leaders. But through it all, Ashoka remained committed to his vision of a better world, guided by Dharma and compassion. Imagine standing on the battlefield after the war, the air thick with smoke and the stench of death, watching as the dead are counted and the living are left to mourn. This was a turning point, a moment of deep introspection that would alter the course of Ashoka's life. Ashoka, the third emperor of the Mauryan dynasty, was born into a world of power and ambition. He became known as Dhamma Ashoka, a ruler whose focus shifted from military conquests to the well-being of his people. His transformation was not merely political, it was spiritual. He believed that true power came from compassion, from Dharma, the righteous path. The battle for Kalinga was brutal. Thousands of soldiers and civilians died, and the bloodshed left Ashoka shaken to his core. Instead, it became a place of quiet reflection, where wisdom was revered and ethical behavior was encouraged. Ashoka established a network of emissaries who spread his message of peace and non-violence across his vast empire. His edicts, carved into stone pillars, became a symbol of his dedication to the principles of Buddhism and his desire to create a just society. In the years that followed, Ashoka would renounce violence and embrace a path of peace, adopting Buddhism as his guiding philosophy. You can imagine the changes in the empire. No longer was the emperor's court filled with the celebrations of victorious battles. As Ashoka's reign progressed, he implemented reforms that promoted religious tolerance, welfare programs, and environmental conservation. Imagine standing before one of Ashoka's great pillars, covered in inscriptions that still speak to us today. Segment 3. The Ashokan Pillars and Hidden Edicts. As we continue our journey, imagine yourself walking through the dense forests of India, where the ancient Ashokan pillars still stand tall, weathered by time but resolute in their message. These magnificent structures were not just architectural feats. They were the emperor's voice etched in stone, speaking to the generations that would follow. Standing at over 40 feet in height in some cases, their massive, imposing presence still commands respect. As you approach one of these pillars, you notice the meticulous craftsmanship that went into creating them intricate carvings of animals, lions, and lotus flowers, each symbolizing different facets of Ashoka's reign and philosophy. The Ashokan pillars, built by Emperor Ashoka himself, are some of the most significant and enduring symbols of his reign. Some believe that Ashoka's message, though well-meaning, became lost in time. After all, the inscriptions were placed in strategic locations across his empire, often in areas where the common people would encounter them. It's possible that Ashoka wanted to embed his teachings so deeply in the public consciousness that the people would begin to live by them, almost subconsciously. The pillars would have served as silent sentinels, reminding the citizens of their moral duty as they passed by. While the edicts remain standing, they have weathered centuries of neglect, and the exact nature of his intentions can no longer be fully grasped. These edicts, inscribed in Brahmi and Kharosthi scripts, are among the earliest known writings of India. They offer a fascinating window into the mind of Emperor Ashoka. But many of their meanings remain elusive. These stone giants have withstood centuries of change, their inscriptions still standing tall, waiting for the world to understand their hidden messages. But it's not just the beauty of the pillars that draws attention, it's the mysterious inscriptions that cover them. What do they reveal about his philosophy and his vision for the Mauryan Empire? Some scholars believe that the inscriptions were a call for moral behavior, stressing values like non-violence, respect for all religions, and the importance of living a righteous life. These edicts were not just proclamations for the elite. They were for everyone, from the rulers down to the common people, urging them to follow the path of Dharma. What was Ashoka trying to tell us through these edicts? For instance, there are references to certain events and customs that have yet to be fully deciphered, leaving historians to puzzle over their true meaning. One of the most famous edicts, carved at the site of Khalsi, mentions the need for religious tolerance and compassion towards animals. Yet, its true depth of meaning is still debated. Ashoka's edicts also speak of his regret for the violence of the Kalinga War, but they are vague in terms of how exactly he achieved his transformation. But here's the intriguing part. Some of these edicts are difficult to understand. The mystery continues when we consider that Ashoka's edicts were not just political statements. They were part of his grand vision for moral and social change. However, there is a theory that suggests Ashoka used these pillars as a tool for social control. As you stand before one of these pillars today, it's easy to feel both awe and reverence for the man who ordered them to be built. Segment 4. The elite Brahmin class. Learning, ritual, and power now. As you gently slip deeper into the past, imagine the world of the Brahmin class intellectuals, religious leaders, and the keepers of sacred knowledge. In stark contrast to the harsh and invisible life of the street sweepers, the Brahmins stood at the pinnacle of social structure in ancient India, wielding immense influence, not just in religious matters, but in politics, education, and even the daily lives of common people. There, surrounded by books and scrolls, the Brahmins are deep in study, discussing the nature of the universe, dharma, and the mysteries of life. Their role was to maintain the cosmic order, to ensure the right rituals were performed at the right time, and to mediate between the human and divine realms. In the royal courts of rulers like Ashoka, the Brahmins were also counselors, philosophers, and political advisors. They were not untouched by the changing tides of history. As the Mauryan Empire evolved, so did the role of the Brahmins. Some historians believe that as Ashoka's reign progressed, with its emphasis on nonviolence and the spread of Buddhism, the Brahmins' position began to shift while they maintained their influence. The rise of other religious and philosophical schools, such as Buddhism and Jainism, began to challenge their authority, particularly as Ashoka promoted religious tolerance and the spread of Buddhist teachings, reminding us of the complexities of history, the struggles of common people, and the power of ideas to shape the world. As you settle deeper into your own thoughts, perhaps there is peace to be found in knowing that, despite the harshness of the past, the legacies of these ancient figures continue to resonate in the present day. The ancient world of India, though distant in time, still offers us lessons in compassion, power, and the endless dance between the lives of rulers and the ruled. As you rest now, think of the contrasts, the hard lives, and the lofty ideals it. Perhaps find some peace in the knowledge that no matter the struggles of the past, the present always offers a new opportunity for reflection and change. Their guidance was sought for the proper governance of the empire, and their teachings formed the moral and ethical framework upon which society rested. Their teachings, though increasingly supplemented by other philosophical traditions, remain central to the social and intellectual life of the time. Through the Brahmins, the ideas of dharmaritus, living, and moral law were passed down. The Brahmin class was unique in the way they were perceived. From the grueling, invisible labor of the street sweepers in Pataliputra to the intellectual and spiritual authority of the Brahmins, we've seen the many layers of society that shaped the Mauryan Empire. Through the story of Ashoka's transformation from conqueror to pacifist, we've also seen how deeply personal and political shifts can affect entire civilizations. They were not warriors or merchants. They were scholars and priests, trained in the sacred Vedas and the complex rituals that define much of Indian spiritual and social life. Picture them in their flowing garments, seated in quiet meditation or engaging in philosophical debates, their minds sharp as they recited ancient texts. Knowledge was their currency, and with it, they held a subtle yet profound power over the population. You might find yourself entering a grand Brahmin home at large, open courtyard with incense burning, offering a soft floral scent to the air. The rituals that the Brahmins performed were complex and highly structured, and they were responsible for the spiritual well-being of the people. These rituals were often held in temples or during significant moments of life birth, marriage, death marking the passage of time and ensuring the blessings of the gods. However, not just anyone could perform these sacred rites. Only those born into the Brahmin caste were considered qualified. This rigid structure reinforced their position at the top of society, where they held authority not only over religious matters, but over the cultural and intellectual fabric of the empire. But while the Brahmins wielded great spiritual power, their influence extended far beyond the temples and rituals. However, life for the Brahmins was not without its complexities. Despite these challenges, the Brahmins continued to hold significant sway over the cultural and spiritual direction of India. Closing reflection as we near the end of our journey through ancient India. Take a moment to reflect on the stark contrasts we've witnessed. And as the pillars of Ashoka stand silently in the Indian landscape, their inscriptions continue to speak to us. Conclusion. As you slowly come back from this journey through time, let your thoughts drift with the soft rhythm of history. Good night.